Stockdale here. Welcome to the Access to Inspiration podcast, the show where you can be inspired by people who may be unlike you. We have now reached the 6th series of the podcast, and with 40 episodes published to date, we hope each one enables you to transcend your day-to-day challenges and reflect on what you are capable of achieving. We're delighted also the podcast is now in the top 10% of most popular podcasts globally, according to Listen Notes. So please help us to continue to spread the word in your country and beyond, so that more people can be inspired by all of the guests we've had so far. The theme of this series is 21st Century Changemakers, and we will be featuring several people who are trying to improve society in different ways. Sometimes that might seem like an overwhelming challenge, too big to be achieved by any one individual. But I hope what our guests help you to be reminded of is that sometimes it just takes a conversation or a moment in time to be the catalyst for change. In episode 45, I'll be talking to Hoang, founder of a non-government organisation in Vietnam, who I met over 25 years ago in Antarctica. It was seeing the enthusiasm of other young people down there that made Hoang realise that she wanted to do something to preserve the environment.
It was actually the first time ever I had seen some really passionate people. The one who joined our expedition, I don't know if you remember all of them. I just barely remember all their names, but it was really the first time when I had really thought, wow, these people are so interesting. They have something they care about. They have some passion that really pull them together and then put all of us in that weird circumstance and do something that I had never done before. I had never heard of all this ozone hole and global warming. All the knowledge and everything that I learned to do that expedition was really mind-blowing. But it's a lot more when I really saw how people were passionate about the environment, which is something I had never thought about. It was really the first time ever I thought of the world, something that is really bigger than myself. It's really something that is larger than life. And I had realized how big the planet is and how little I knew. I knew nothing. I knew nothing about the world and about humanity and about how young people can really come together and do something about the environment.
Since founding her non-government organisation, Hoang has now mobilised thousands of young people to become more active in preserving the environment. Hearing stories as well as first-hand experiences can have a powerful influence on us. And that's the reason that the Access to Inspiration podcast was created in the first place. I asked Matias, our sound designer from Argentina, what episode so far has had the greatest impact on him.
The one I really enjoyed the most was the one from the astronaut, because from each interview I do take something and some more than others. Many times I go online later and I research something, then maybe those things that you research, they stay in a way. But the astronaut's interview, John David Bartow, his message I think was really strong when he talks about seeing the Earth from outside, so small, so fragile, and that he wants to just hug the Earth like a newborn. He says that, and he also says that he sees the Earth with no boundaries, with no colors for the different countries. And it's a simple message, but I think it's really strong to hear it from someone that actually went to space and actually saw that in real life, not in TV as we all do. That was a strong message.
What impacted Matias also reinforces to me why we like to interview real people and share their insights with a global audience. Another guest that will be coming up this series is Dr. Leanne Armitage, whose teenage experiences in inner city London inspired her to become a doctor.
I was 15, I was coming home one day with my sister, and I remember hearing this really loud sound from above. So I looked up and I saw that it was a helicopter, and I love helicopters, they still excite me to today, so I got really excited, and I asked my sister if we could travel over to where the helicopter was landing, and she agreed, and together we went. But when we got there, I remember seeing a crowd of people gathered around, and everybody was just standing there staring, and their facial expressions didn't quite match the excitement that I had inside. So I was a bit confused, and I just asked the nearest person to me why everybody was gathered here. And she told me that a young man had been stabbed. And growing up in Peckham, I grew up in southeast London, it wasn't uncommon, unfortunately, to hear about young men being stabbed or being shot at quite a young age, losing their lives. But there was something about this incident that really stuck with me. And I think it's because I went from that place of being so excited to then feeling so grieved as I realized that, look, this helicopter isn't here for any good reason at all. And I remember in that moment feeling so many different types of emotions. I felt angry because I was looking around thinking, everybody's just standing here staring, but who's actually going to do something to make a difference?
And to open our series, our first guest will be Amy Henderson, whose movement, TendLab, aims to build a better future for working parents in America.
I started a company called TendLab, and my original co-founder had been the first VP of HR and diversity and inclusion at Twitter. And she'd started a whole bunch of programs to support parents in the workplace at Twitter, earned a great reputation for herself and for Twitter. And we thought, given her experience and background in relationships, and given my experience and background in relationships, that people would be banging down our doors to hire us. But for the most part, nobody cared about parents in the workplace. So I doubled down on the research, trying to say, okay, how can I articulate this in a way that people will hear it? And that's where I got deep into the science of what happens to our brains and how have we evolved as a species and what do we know about the future of work and the skills that are needed in the future of work. I just nerded out on all the research, which is now in this book. But then also I tested it out in a bunch of different audiences. And I'm happy to say that in one presentation that I gave after I'd had a few flops, I gave a presentation to a room of folks at Yelp, about 50 or 60 folks at Yelp. And afterwards, I had a young male manager who didn't yet have kids come up to me and say, "Oh my God, Amy, I feel like I should go out and have kids immediately so I can be better at my job." And then I thought, okay, I have nailed this. I have communicated effectively what I'm trying to say. And so I do think it really is for that initial phase for me. And I'm going to quote my friend Janessa Greening, who runs the largest nonprofit in Canada called the BC Women's Health Foundation. She says that she's found what's most effective at influencing people is when you marry story with science and when you marry morality with economics.
So I hope you will join us over the next few weeks to hear from these change makers and several more. As always, you can keep in touch with Access to Inspiration on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn and Twitter. Just search for Access to Inspiration. Please also take a moment to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you just tell one other person about the series, it will also help us to spread the word. You'll also find transcriptions for all of the 40 episodes and a number of specific playlists on the website. So hop on over to accesstoinspiration.org. I'll look forward to connecting with you soon.